The cosmological argument begins with a simple observation. The universe exists. Not only does it exist, but it also had a beginning. This idea, once a matter of philosophical and theological debate, has received significant support from modern cosmology. The Big Bang theory, now widely accepted, posits that the universe originated from a state of extreme density and temperature around 13.8 billion years ago. Evidence from cosmic background radiation and the redshift of distant galaxies strongly suggests an expanding universe, implying a point of origin. This concept of a universe with a beginning is crucial to the cosmological argument. The second premise of the cosmological argument hinges on the principle of causality. Simply put, everything that begins to exist must have a cause. We observe this principle constantly in our everyday lives. A chair doesn't just appear, it's built by someone. A fire doesn't spontaneously ignite. It needs a spark or heat source. This principle extends beyond our immediate experiences. The laws of physics, which govern the universe, are fundamentally based on cause and effect relationships. From the motion of planets to the interactions of subatomic particles, events are constantly triggered by preceding causes. If the universe began to exist, then it must have had a starting point, a moment when everything we know came into being. And everything that begins to exist has a cause, a reason for its existence, something that brought it into being. Therefore, the universe itself must have a cause, something that set everything into motion, a prime mover. This cause, by definition, must be external to the universe itself, as it created the universe and everything within it. This cause must also be incredibly powerful, possessing the ability to bring an entire universe into existence from nothing, capable of initiating the Big Bang, forming stars, and creating the very fabric of space and time. This cause must be fundamentally different from the universe itself, not bound by the laws of physics that govern our reality. This uncaused cause, possessing the attributes of being eternal, powerful, and transcendent, exists beyond our understanding of time and space. Such a cause aligns with many traditional conceptions of God, an eternal being who is the source of all that exists. Thus, the cosmological argument suggests that the most plausible explanation for the existence of the universe is an uncaused eternal being, often identified as God, who transcends our universe and is the ultimate source of all creation. One of the most common criticisms of the cosmological argument, and indeed any argument for the existence of God, is the lack of direct empirical evidence. Critics argue that we cannot observe God directly, nor can we detect his actions in the same way we can observe the effects of gravity or electromagnetism. This argument stems from a limited view of what constitutes valid evidence. In the realm of science, evidence is often equated with what can be measured, quantified, and observed through our senses or instruments. Gravity, for instance, can be demonstrated through experiments with falling objects, and electromagnetism can be shown through various lab demonstrations. These phenomena are tangible and repeatable, fitting neatly into the empirical framework that science relies upon. However, the cosmological argument operates on a different level of reasoning. It delves into the philosophical and metaphysical realms, where inferential reasoning plays a crucial role. Philosophers and theologians debate these ideas, often using complex mathematical formulas and logical constructs to make their case. The absence of direct evidence does not necessarily invalidate the argument. Rather, it challenges us to expand our understanding of what evidence can be. While we may not have direct, tangible proof of God's existence, the cosmological argument relies on inferential reasoning. It suggests that the existence of the universe itself points to an uncaused cause, a necessary being that set everything into motion. This line of thought invites us to consider the universe as a whole and the underlying principles that govern its existence. Much like we infer the existence of the wind from the rustling of leaves, the cosmological argument infers the existence of an uncaused cause from the existence of the universe. Just as the wind is invisible, yet its effects are observable, the argument posits that the cause of the universe, though not directly observable, can be inferred from the existence and nature of the universe itself. This perspective encourages a broader view of evidence, one that includes both empirical observations and philosophical inferences. Another common criticism is that the cosmological argument relies on the God of the gaps fallacy. This criticism suggests that proponents of the argument are merely inserting God into the gaps of our scientific knowledge rather than providing a robust explanation. The term God of the gaps is often used pejoratively to imply that religious explanations are placeholders for ignorance. This fallacy occurs when a gap in scientific knowledge is used to justify a supernatural explanation. Essentially, it argues that because science currently cannot explain a phenomenon, it must be attributed to a divine cause. This approach is seen as intellectually lazy by critics as it discourages further scientific inquiry and exploration. Critics argue that invoking God as the cause of the universe is simply filling in a gap in our current understanding of the universe's origins. They contend that as science progresses, these gaps will eventually be filled with natural explanations, rendering the need for a supernatural explanation obsolete. However, the cosmological argument does not rely on gaps in scientific knowledge. Instead, it is based on the principle of causality, which is a fundamental principle of science itself. The argument posits that everything that begins to exist has a cause, and since the universe began to exist, it must also have a cause. Instead, it operates on the principle of causality, which is a fundamental principle of science itself. This principle is not a gap in knowledge, but a foundational concept that underpins much of scientific inquiry. The cosmological argument seeks to identify the ultimate cause of the universe, which it posits as a necessary being, often identified as God. The argument does not seek to replace scientific explanations, but rather to provide a framework for understanding the ultimate origin of those very scientific laws and principles. It suggests that the existence of the universe and the laws governing it point to a cause that is beyond the natural world, offering a philosophical foundation for the existence of a higher power. Section 6. Modern science and the question of causation. Modern science, particularly in the fields of quantum physics and cosmology, has raised intriguing questions about the nature of causation. These fields often deal with phenomena that challenge our everyday understanding of cause and effect, leading some to suggest that the principle of causality may not be as universal as we once thought. However, it's crucial to understand that these scientific developments do not invalidate the cosmological argument. While they may complicate our understanding of causation on a quantum level, they do not negate the fundamental principle that every event has a cause. Section 7. Quantum physics, a challenge to causality. Quantum physics, with its probabilistic nature and counterintuitive phenomena like particle-wave duality and quantum entanglement, has indeed challenged traditional notions of cause and effect. Events at the quantum level often seem to occur randomly, without a clear deterministic cause. However, it's important to note that even in quantum mechanics, the principle of conservation of energy and momentum holds true. While the specific behavior of individual particles might seem random, the overall system still adheres to fundamental laws. Section 8. The infinite regress problem. One of the most challenging counterarguments to the cosmological argument is the concept of infinite regress. Critics argue that if everything needs a cause, then what caused God? This line of reasoning leads to an infinite chain of causes, with no ultimate beginning. The concept of an infinite regress raises complex philosophical questions about the nature of infinity and the possibility of an actual infinite series of causes. However, the idea of an infinite regress of causes seems inherently unsatisfying. It fails to provide a true explanation for the existence of the universe, simply pushing the question of ultimate origins further back in time. Section 9. Uncaused phenomenon, complex or simple. The cosmological argument ultimately leads us to confront the possibility of an uncaused phenomenon. This phenomenon, the ultimate source of the universe, could be incredibly complex, as many religious traditions believe. Or it could be surprisingly simple, a fundamental principle or entity from which all complexity arises. Whether this uncaused phenomenon aligns with the traditional concept of God is a matter of ongoing debate. However, the cosmological argument compels us to acknowledge the possibility of something existing beyond the universe, something that transcends our current understanding of physics and causality.